Right, we're
You can
going
kind of see my floor
live.
in the background. I don't know. Can you see it? See, you just barely see the floor. Right.
Oh
Which way is it? That
yeah.
way.
Look at that.
Yes.
All right. Good job.
Yeah.
Good. Are you done?
Yeah. God no.
Are you regretting it? Like Mark Harris, are you like you're almost through the renovation? Are you now like, ugh, I should have just hired somebody to come in and do this?
No. No,
Mm.
because I did it right. And so I can't afford somebody to do it right. They're going to do it fast, and I don't want fast. I want it
Yeah, and you
perfect.
get the learnings too, right? You're learning how to do it. So when you're ready to come do my house, you'll be all set.
I'm going to be expensive when I come to your house.
Pennies on the dollar. Yeah, I expect it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
this week's critique was open general or open genre or whatever. Basically, no holds barred. Submit whatever you want.
Right.
And I opened it up. Remember 2 weeks ago I said submit whatever you want. It doesn't have to be photographic or still or it could be composite, whatever. What do you think? Did they come through? Did we get anything? Any out of the box thinkers this time, Troy?
We got a lot of safe images, I think.
Uh huh.
We got a lot of
Yeah.
safe images. They're good,
Which is
though. They're
cool.
all
It's
good.
cool. It's cool. They're in their comfort zone. Yeah, it's all good. Before we dive into this, I think we got like 7 or 8 images to go through. Before we dive in, I'm getting, dude, I feel like I'm getting Silicon Valley peer pressured into that Apple Vision Pro headset. I've been resisting. I was at the mall yesterday and I walked right by and I didn't do my thing because I know I'm going to get sucked in. But like, oh my god! And he's got a little. Did you build a little throne for it? Like,
No, it's how it comes in the box.
sure it
I
is.
don't have
Sure,
a.
yeah.
Oh, my video. What is up with my
It looks fine
video?
on this side. You look good. Don't worry about it. It's your preview on your side is messed
Okay.
up. You look good on this side.
Okay. Okay.
So you're still happy with it? You're still happy because I'm getting peer pressured
I am.
all around from people. I feel like Steve Jobs just did a keynote, and you know how you get the irrational exuberance and reality distortion feel that happens after a keynote. I feel like that's still happening with this Vision Pro headset. And there's also the haters, of course, but then there's the lovers are just like Kool-Aid marinated people. Like,
Now
what
look
the
here.
heck?
Here's my 3 cents on the whole thing. Right. First of all, I haven't found a review that's honest or not honest. That's not fair. I haven't found a review that's real world. Okay, like all the reviews are hype and drama, and they have good clickbait and whatever. And yes, it's fun to watch somebody play with them. I found my experience to be completely different. And so, you've got to kind of like live it before you can really know. You got to go try them. You got to go try them and try them on
I'm
and play
going
with them.
to.
And
I'll have a pair. It's almost a game now. It's like how long can I hold out? It's like how long can I hold my breath? That's what it feels like until I just break and go get it. But we'll see. Okay, let's do this critique and have a look. Do
yes,
you have your topic for next week's all lined up in your brain, or are you gonna pull it out of your butt? That was a meme shot right there. That was a meme shot.
I'm not
You don't
entirely
have it, do you? You
sure.
didn't do your homework, did you? You didn't do your homework, Mr. Miller.
I have an idea. I never think of the topics ahead of time. I always make them up, like through the stream. Something
On the
prompts and pops
fly.
into my head, and I'm like,
Well,
we should do
what during
that.
the mixer didn't we come up with one? Now that I think about it, didn't we come up
We
with
did.
what was it? I forget what it was. I forget what we said. That's what you were trying to think of
Well,
because you forgot.
how we title it is going to be the challenge, right? Because our
Yeah,
goal was we were going to say you have to drive 3 miles from your
right.
home in any direction and make a picture there. That
We
was
said any
that was
direction.
the goal,
I thought we were
right?
gonna pick the
So
direction. We said any direction.
what? Well, we talked about a direction or any direction, but we
Okay.
could refine that to say you have to go north, you know,
I like picking a
or
direction. That
south.
feels that feels definitive to pick a direction. Plus, we'll see. Yeah. All right. This is gonna be good. Well, we got a foreshadowing into what this next critique is gonna be, folks. So stay tuned to the end to find out what Troy figures out the next
It's
critique.
always me. I have to figure it out.
Hey, I gotta push buttons on this side. You can come up with the critique. So there we go.
Oh, it's so
Yeah,
hard.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It is. It's hard. All right, let's dive in. Now that we've done all the housekeeping, let's take a look at the first image, which was submitted by Mr. Michael Rhino. Take a look. Ooh.
Oh man. Yeah. He lives in a very what would you say, a target rich environment there,
Yeah.
which we were teasing him
Embarrassment
about a
of
little bit.
yeah. It's amazing. He can't move. If he moves to like someplace more, let's call it aesthetically pedestrian, he's gonna go crazy. He's like used to living on Mount Olympus and like, oh, I wake up and look at that, perfect sunrise and trees and snow, and look at that elk walking in slow motion for me right there. That's great. Good for him though. That's good.
Yeah, no,
All right.
it is
I know
wonderful.
you have
And
thoughts on this shot.
I do. And for those in the stream, like for some reason we have an exacerbated delay today. It's not always this bad, but for some reason today we have a worse delay. So Frederick and I are navigating that, trying to not talk over each other. So
Oh boy.
it's always a
Oh my
thing.
god. Yeah. It's like having a conversation in the 70s with somebody in Tokyo. That's what it feels like. Yeah, it's like over.
Oh my
Let's
god.
just say over. Let's just say over after everything.
I'm not gonna remember that.
Exactly.
It's
So what do you think about this
complicated.
shot? Over.
Oh, I'm gonna
Oh.
talk now. So I love the shot. I think that there's a lot of elements going on in this image that I really, really love. I mean, first of all, it's black and white, so we know I love that. Second of all, there's this wonderful shapes that complement each other, right? We have the trees, which are just kind of this organic pattern that I think is just so wonderful, the silhouette of that. Then we have, the sun, which is like centered, but the horizon isn't dead center, which is wonderful. Everything's dropped low. I love how we have this triangle of the clouds in the top left hand corner and an opposing triangle of the shape of the trees as they taper off from right to left. And then we have all these like tapering triangles and leading lines in the snow, and they all complement each other. And there's a lot going on, but yet the shot is simple, right? The shot is easy to understand. It's easy to digest and step into. So, man, it's great. Good job, Michael. I don't have anything to fix. I dig it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love everything you said. Yeah, for sure. And it's somewhere. It's not quite a silhouette, but it's somewhere between being a silhouette and not. It's almost. I don't know. It's hard. It's interesting because it's almost just a graphical, almost like a lithograph or something. And then we've got detail in the foreground, and that I'm assuming that's snow in the foreground. But our subject, like even in the middle, like underneath that tree, I don't know if it's just me, but I see a figure underneath that tree, right underneath that sunburst thing. It looks almost like a figure that is standing there. And if it was, that'd be even more brilliant if that was like a person standing there. Um, the only thing that I would throw in, and I want to hear what you think about this, Troy, is it feels like it's slightly tilted to the left, but it's not. I've already checked it. And what it is this the hill line. I guess the horizon back there behind the trees. It drops off on the left side a little bit, and it is giving the illusion slightly and it's exacerbated by the fact that the trees are smaller on the left side than on the right side. So it's if they are in fact, maybe Michael's at an angle or something, but they're. Yeah, that makes it feel like it's leaning a little bit towards the left. I don't
Oh,
know.
it's
Did you
definitely
catch that?
leaning. Yeah, it's
Is it?
definitely leaning. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just checked it again too. Yep, it's definitely leaning to the left.
Hmm.
So, Michael, you got to fix that, buddy. You know how we are. You got to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is
Mm-hmm.
leaning a little bit, but I didn't even see that. I was taken in by the trees and the silhouettes and stuff. So good catch.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's got geometry in here, right? All those diagonal lines and then the horizontal, and then it's all captured in a box, and you got the vertical lines of the trees there. So when you have that much geometry in the shot, your brain kind of like, okay, is it perfect? Right? Where is it
Right.
not geometrically perfect? And it came through in that little line or in the horizon. But other than that, which
Yeah.
is easily fixable, great shot. I love the processing of it. I love his interpretation of the scene in black and white, and it almost puts you there. Love it.
Yep. Yep. Great image.
All right. Up next is let's
Peter
see.
Levshin.
Is it Peter Levshin? Peter Levshin.
Yep.
Let's see. All right. Where is this? Let me just read this. Did he? Peter never captions. He never captions. So we don't know where this
Yeah.
is. Someplace not in Tracy, California, I'm sure. What do you think?
It's such an interesting image. And there's so much going on in here, and it's one of those kind of shots that, you know, I wish that it was less busy. I wish that there were more depth of field, but at the same time, it's such a unique and interesting perspective that I love all the layers that's going on. So, we've got that satellite dish in the back. We've got this old, I don't know what we're going to call it, the spire. And then we got somebody water skiing in the lower right hand corner in front of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's it's really super cool. So, and I'm interested to hear your feedback too, but I'm really struggling with the fact that we don't have a foreground, middle ground, background. The lighting is nice on the spire, but it's off center, which means it's shifted to the left. It's vertical, but it's shifted to the left because we want to keep the boat in there. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
struggling with that. And then we have
Mm-hmm.
on the horizon between the spire and the dish, it looks like there's like flare, because that's not an object. Like, I don't. It's not like a moon in the background or anything. But
Yeah, like right here, right there.
yeah, it doesn't look like it would be anything. I don't think that could be the moon. That would, if Peter got that shot and that's the moon, I don't believe it. Sorry, Peter. I know you're amazing, but
He's
um,
like, you're good, but you ain't that good.
maybe.
No, now watch. He's gonna say, "Oh yes, it is the moon," and I waited there for 7 days
Yeah,
for
he
that perfect
probably
shot.
he he would. I mean, so to be honest, I can say this because Peter's my good friend. This doesn't feel like an amazing landscape shot to me. This feels like a capture of the moment. I don't want to say a snapshot, but it doesn't have like the elements of the depth of field and great composition. And it's a fun shot. It's a well captured shot, but it's kind of that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think where I would fall on this is there's a lot going on in here. Like, who's our subject? I want our subject to be the spire in the middle, um, but then I'm taken out of that because then I see that the juxtaposition of technology and like old world class, right,
Right.
in the foreground. I think I understand why he left the boat and the people in there for scale, because without those, you would have no idea for the most part how big that the spire was, or you'd have to kind of work it out in your head a little bit. There's not a whole lot of clues in there. So, but I think I would have, I get that, but at the same time, I think I would have taken those out because they're drawing me into that little, what's happening down there? What are those people doing out there? And did that boat leave them? Are they stranded? Like, what is happening? And that's not what the intent, I'm sure, of Peter when he shot this. So I would get those people out of there, clone them out of there. I'd like to see a little bit more space between assuming that's not a moon there. Let's make the assumption that that's not a moon between the satellite
Yeah.
dish and the structure. If that's not a moon, I'd like to see space between leave the satellite dish where it is and maybe scooch so the spire is off to the right a little bit, because you got a whole lot of weight on the left side of the frame and none on the right side, so it feels like it's heavy and off center and leaning towards the left. So I'd move this guy over to the right, like, i.e. scooch your feet to the left a little bit to put this more towards the right. And then that way, if you get those people out of there, that boat out of there, change the framing a little bit, then I feel like the story starts telling itself. It feels like, oh, he's trying to tell us this is like after the polar ice caps have fully melted, and this is the top of a church in San Jose, right, or something, you know. And you can start making up these stories, and it starts because there's fewer elements in there. You got your background, your satellite, your dish, and then the structure. But yeah. Other than that, the boat and those people in there are taking me out of the shot. Even if you just nuked those out of there, just got those people out of there, I think that would make it a stronger shot, because it's, you know, it leans more snapshotty with people in there boating, I guess.
Right. And, you know, to kind of take that idea a little bit further, if you were to like soften the clouds and then soften the dish a little bit less and soften the forest in the background a little bit less and create a layer, then you would have all those elements are still there, but it gives you a sense of depth. Right now, like, this was shot with a really long focal length, you know, 200 or better, a lot of compression. So, you know, it feels flat.
Yeah. All right, Peter, I'm curious what you say about this in the chat or at the mixer. But yeah, old, new, the old, new, and fun. Yeah, it's a good the concept is great. I love it. It's just those few little things that are a little bit off. Mr. Stampley says visions of splendor dance in her head. Let's bring that up. Yeah. Love it. This is right on. Craig sent me a message during the mixer asking if this was appropriate for the stream. We shall see, but I'm fine with it. You know, so
yeah.
There's no slightly dark skin pigment in the chest area that might.
Are you avoiding? People. Are you avoiding words?
Yeah, I am actually. I am. Yeah, There's no shots of Bipple in there.
So, oh my God, you're so funny.
Hey, you gotta know how to speak AI, man. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So, I'm a huge fan of Craig's work, and I love the black and white and the artistic flow of this. I love it so much. Craig's been working on this kind of stuff for a long time, and getting to really see an improvement in the quality of his work, right? Like the execution. I really appreciate that. And I'm glad that we get to be part of that and get to see that. So knowing that Craig's come a long way and knowing that he's put a lot of time and effort into this image, my critiques are very critical. So to be fair, and I say that for everybody, so you know that I know where he's coming from. So I would just say to Craig, like, what a beautiful image, right? But a couple things that I would work on is, one, try to bend those arms, right? That right arm being super straight, like, that's really hard. You want to have that bent so it feels more natural and flowy. The hand is great. The right hand is great, but because of the sharp angle of the wrist and the super straight arm, it doesn't flow, right? If the elbow was bent a little bit, the wrist and fingers would be perfect. And then, you guys have heard me complain before, but the left hand coming out of her stomach, I can't do it. Like, I just can't live with that. Like, it's got to go away, Yeah. And I know Craig sometimes works with models, and I know sometimes he works with clients. And so, talking to a model and saying, hey, just make sure your opposite hand is hidden, or that it's, depending on where you are in your body. I just don't think that that's the right place for that left hand. Other than that, fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. Now that you say, that left hand didn't even bother me until you said something about it.
It feels so unnatural.
Now I can't not look at it now that you've said that. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, I totally get that. But I'm curious, like, what's the solution for that, to turn her body? So what do you want to see? A little bit more shoulder, another part of the arm being revealed, so that there's there's not just this one arm protruding from her abdomen. Like what would
Yeah,
fix it?
I mean, ideally, yeah. If the pose was changed, then you could reveal the arm. But if this is the pose, and I love this pose, I think this is a wonderful pose. You just want to drop her left hand along her leg and make it go away.
Okay.
That would be something that a model who's conscious of her body, where her positioning is, and what she's doing in camera position, could probably do if she was asked, or
I
remove
mean,
it.
you could
Right,
clone that
like
out,
that's
right? He could just clone it out of there and be done with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My only other suggestion is, and again, I'm being nitpicky because I know that Craig's like really working hard on these, is because of probably the water temperature, she's getting a little dimply skin, right? She's getting, whatever you want to call that. I would do, and I'm not usually a fan of it, but I would look into doing a little bit of skin smoothing to even that out, because I think that's more of a condition of the fact that she's in water that might be too cold, or she's nervous, or so.
Yeah. Yeah. I yeah, so much. So I agree now with the hand protruding from the abdomen. The what is it? Right arm, I guess. The one that you
Mhm.
said is a little bit, too straight or angular there. I agree with that. I would love to see that bent a little bit because it's kind of bent unnaturally now. And that hand, it's almost like it almost, I hate to say it, but people are like, is that AI? Did AI make that hand like incorrectly? No one's hand bends like that. How many fingers are on there, right? Easily solved with a little bend of the hand, I think. And I think the other side effect of that hand being sort of kind of contorted like it is it almost feels corpsey a little bit because like the arm is in the water a little bit kind of unnaturally, like the body was just thrown in the water, and it's just like
Yep.
which is not, I'm sure, what he's going for. He's going for the vibrancy of this beautiful body underwater.
Yep.
So Craig, I'm curious if you have the time. I'd be interested to see if you have another shot like this with the right arm less angular, and a shot with without the hand coming from the abdomen.
Yeah, and for this kind of work, you really want to look at, like, do some research and go look at like ballet photos of
Mm-hmm.
like high end professional ballet. Like, there's almost no straight lines in their body unless it's intentional, right? Unless it's a particular pose or a move. But there's always like the hands and the elbows and the wrists are bent just so. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
when you're underwater, and Craig's at this level now, right? Like it's the little things, right? It's the last 1%. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's already a kaiju in photography, right?
kaiju, wow.
Hey,
Went right there, did you?
I watched Pacific Rim last night because
So
who was
good.
telling who was telling me because we were talking at our member mixer. We were talking about Godzilla minus one, right? The new
Oh,
movie
right,
that
right.
that you had to have seen here in the theaters, or else you're gonna be like me and trying to figure out where to find it and see it, and I can't find it anywhere. But anyway, I got on the whole kaiju kick, and now kaiju in my brain for some reason. I don't know.
It's
All
not a
right,
bad thing.
it's not kaiju. All right, Craig Stampley, thank you, sir. Coming up next is Karen Sweeney. The scene in the Burrell Collection building caught my eye for All the World's a Stage. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, nice. Look at the Easter egg. Love it.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool. What do you think?
Again, it's so neat to see all these images that have been coming through for so long from so many of the TWiP family, and Karen's stuff is getting even better. Her abstract stuff, I think, is really wonderful. I I love this concept. I think it's fantastic. I like everything about it, the color harmony, the shape. What I'm not a huge fan of is those two wall decorations left and right. So
Mm.
I would just crop those out, and I would go square. And if you just hold your hands up and crop those out, immediately you see the person, and you see that beautiful, beams and hardware and stuff in the ceiling. So I'm a big fan of just cropping it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wasted pixels in some ways, right? Space is good.
Right.
Looking at this, I love it's almost, man, it's almost kaleidoscopy, right? You look at it, it feels almost like the kaleidoscope symmetrical patterns that you see, but with this shattered symmetry of the person in there with the hat. So I dig that. Coming in a little tighter, maybe. I don't know, Troy. I kind of like it like this. I like because I get the feel of grandeur because of the what do we call that in art? The vanishing point. You know, the converging lines of all the perspective with the doorways and the roof all pointing back to this, you know, this infinity point back there. But then with this person, the photo bomber in there, just shattering all the symmetry and giving us a you know, some anchor for scale. That's kind of because otherwise, without that head in there, without that person, you have no idea how big any of this is, which is not necessarily
Right.
a bad thing, but yeah, it's cool. I don't know, I like it.
Yep.
All
Good
right,
stuff.
very good stuff. So, all right, coming up next is Paulo Betti. He says, "Only God." Portrait of a kind, gentle soul of an inmate who's volunteering in community service works, part of my ongoing project on volunteers. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's a tough guy.
Yeah, he's
Yes, it
seen
is.
some life.
Yeah, yeah, and has documented it, right? A lot of that life.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is one of those shots, right? I mean, this is you get lost in the whole thing. Like we got lost in his story. We want to read, but then we want to look at his eyes and you know, just and then Paulo's caption lets us know that, you know, he's had run-ins with the law. So you can imagine this person has not had you know, let's call it an easy life by most standards. So, and he
Mhm.
captures that in the shot, right? Boom, street photography. I'd love to know the conversation that Paulo had with him. Like that's the multimedia element of this. Wouldn't have been great if he pulled out his phone and just recorded like a 1 minute something. Like, what do you think? Like, what do you think about the world today? Boom, and just have, you know, and have that go along with the image, so we have that dimension of who this person is. The photo itself stands on its own too. I'm just saying, these days we all carry around computers with us in our phones, everywhere else. Wouldn't it be interesting to have an audio caption just to kind of be even more familiar with his story? What do you think?
So I'm so taken by this photo. I think it's truly wonderful. The well, first of all, it's a really clean image, right? There's not a lot of distraction. We have a shallow depth of field working. The jacket is soft, but the face is nice and sharp. You can read everything, and the eyes are tack. I like that. One of the things that really impressed me about this image, first and foremost, is that this is taken with a wider angle lens. I'm going to guess, maybe like a 35 or something like that, because he's so close and we're getting a little bit of that distortion. But what that means is that in order for Paulo to take this image, he had to be inside this guy's space bubble, right? He had to be
Mm-hmm.
inside, he had to be close to him, and that's not easy to do, to get that close to somebody and then have that trust. And this guy is making eye contact, so clearly Paulo is doing a great job communicating with him, and this guy is okay with it, which, from a portrait photographer like myself, I mean, this is hard to do, even for somebody who hires you. you know
Yeah.
People don't like you in their space. So I really love that. It just, the only thing for me is I just wish that we had a tad bit more light in the right eye, which I think you could bring up a little bit without distorting the reality of this image. Just a tiny bit of dodging, just to bring that up just a bit. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, spot on.
Yeah, yeah, really, really good shot, and what a good exercise in the challenges of being a street photographer. Because you want the shot, it's not like you have a super long lens and you're in the Serengeti shooting lions from a safe distance. In this
Right.
situation, you actually have to have a conversation with your subject and get permission and, break the ice and then have the wherewithal to make the photo on top of that and then process it and all that. So, yeah, just
Yep.
walking around street photography and photojournalism sounds easy on the surface, right? Yeah, just walk around, take pictures of things you see. But stuff like this. Yeah, I challenge anyone, and listening to this to have the cojones to walk up to a guy like this and ask him, can you make his photo? It's probably the nicest guy in the world, I bet, right?
Yeah.
Probably,
But,
I would imagine
but just
he
walking,
starts talking and it sounds like Mike Tyson or something. You're like, oh, hey.
but just walking up to anybody. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like for me in weddings, like I intentionally shoot with a fisheye because I think it's a fun lens to shoot with. But I have to wait until later in the session so that they're comfortable with me. I can't start off with that right away. I have to do that like at the end when they're comfortable with me and we're playful and they know me and I can get close to them. It's like giving somebody a hug. You don't just give hugs unless you know it's safe, right? You don't just walk around and hug strangers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, interesting. Love the shot. What a
Good stuff.
What a great series, right? I wanna see more like this. Very cool. He says it's part of his ongoing project on volunteers. I want to see more of these, Paula.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anybody else in here? No. Next up is Eric Pronsky. He says playing around with a new iPhone 15. Nice. The image is a reflection of downtown Austin, Texas, the prominent white 600-foot tower nicknamed the Sailboat Building that Google occupies. I took this in live view mode, so this image showed the best position of the two people on trail near me. Oh, cool. I flipped the image both vertically and horizontally to give it the real non-mirrored look. Otherwise, there was very little post-processing. Interesting. Cool.
Oh, I love it. That's so creative.
Yeah, now you speak my language. This is my language right here. I love that.
Yeah, this is really great. Eric, first of all, kudos for seeing the image. That's one of the biggest parts, right? Is like seeing the image, and you only get there by, shooting a lot and getting a lot of critiques. So I love that. And I love the abstract nature of this. I mean, it could be rendered, but I love that it's not. I love the fact that you created it, and it's a nice reflection. So good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it almost looks impressionistic. It's very, very. I definitely want to see this big. Like if it would hold up to being printed big, iPhone 15, it should, right? Big 11 by 14 or so. That would be really interesting. And I was gonna say, wow, how would this look in black and white? I don't think. It might look okay in black and white, but I think the colors kind of sell it because we already have the pop of that sailboat building with the contrast of the person in front of it, and it's giving us that mystery of how big is that sailboat building, right? And where is that person standing? Is that just a statue in the park that this person's looking at, or is that miles away and it's a gigantic building? That mystery is sold very well in this shot, and that foreground grass element. It looks like, Bob Ross came in there and painted some happy little blades of grass. Good job.
Yeah,
man.
and I think what's also really wonderful about this image is that anybody who's been there and maybe that lives in that area or has walked this path and saw this angle in real life, they're going to recognize something familiar about this. And I think that's really important, right? Like abstract is wonderful, but if it has a little bit of a relationship to something that we can understand, it makes it even better. So yeah, this is really super cool. I think that, if this gets around, right, and if you show this to a lot of people, you're going to get a lot of people telling you that it's generated or that it's not a photograph. So I like that even more.
Therein lies the insidious nature of AI, right? It has polluted the waters of reality. So now we question everything, regardless of how much work went into it.
But we did that anyway when Photoshop became more prevalent. I mean, that it was always, and it's an issue right now. Photoshop has always been an issue, like in image competitions, because the judges have always been coached to please not assume that something amazing is Photoshopped. Mm-hmm. So but it's hard though, right? Like it's hard to believe that you got the moon in that shot by the radar dish, satellite dish, Peter. Like it's hard to believe that, but
not to mention that some people
we always assume it's digital.
Well, and some people are disingenuous, right? And will try to pass it off as reality when it's not. So you got to contend with that, as well. So Like Peter
Yeah,
putting
those
that moon in
17
there trying
lightning
to fool
strikes
us.
in my image are real. Like,
Exactly. Who's on Jupiter when it happened? All right. Very cool shot. I love this one. Very, very nice.
yeah, good
All
job.
right.
And on the iPhone, what a winner.
And on the iPhone. That's a whole different story. That's a whole different story. All
Yeah.
right. Up next is Rick Killboy. He says, young, playful bison taking out on Antelope Island State Park. It's cropped. Cropped to get the feeling of playing.
Oh, nice.
Look at that.
That's super cool. These are fun. I photographed these in Jackson Hole, the bison out there running around, and you can't get close enough to them to create any like cool angles and stuff. So usually it's longer lenses. I love the timing, the playfulness of this. We don't have any depth of field, which I like a lot of depth of field. I like shallow depth of field. I like a lot of shallow foreground, so we get some depth. So a little bit of work in post could help with that. I also think pushing in a little closer to the heads, and then black and white. I think black and white would really work well for this. We would see the horns, and we would see into the face a little bit more, and then the cropping and the noise wouldn't become an issue anymore. So might consider black and white, but it's a fun image. Good timing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see what black and white looks like with this image, as well as infrared. Like, would infrared do anything interesting here? Because look at all that dead stuff out there. That'd be interesting. Compositionally, I think the only thing that I would give feedback on is this photo bomber off to the left here. Probably would get that guy out of there. And there's also a little bit of, I feel like there's a little bit of animal showing on this side, I think. So I'd probably get that out just to focus us in. And then you could do that very easily by doing what Troy said, i.e. cropping in a little bit. Because do we really need their whole bodies in there? Or can this be cropped square like this so we get a better look at the expression on this guy and maybe lift these shadows a little bit to see what's going on with that face underneath there. But yeah, and I love the leg lifted here, adding a little bit of motion down at the bottom. But other than that, yeah, those are just suggestions. The shot is good just like this. But yeah, with those, I'd love to see the experiment of going in those directions of making it simpler by moving the animals on the left and right of the frame and or cropping in so that we see more of the face and the horns and they pop.
I do agree.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up is, let's see, anybody else on here? Nope. Michael Brown, white-throated sparrow. Look at this guy. Just
Pretty
chilling.
bird.
Look at those colors.
Pretty bird.
Look at the colors. Yeah.
I named this bird Petey. This bird is Petey. Just saying.
Why is he Petey?
I don't know. Because it reminded me. It reminded me of Dumb and Dumber. Oh, yeah. Don't you remember the bird in Dumb and Dumber?
I do.
That bird did not have a good life.
Cameron names things all the time, my daughter, and she, there's a family of ducks that live in a nearby lake that we walk by all the time. She's named the ducks, what's her name? Amanda McNugget. And her and the baby chicks, when they show up, because they show up for from time to time, the baby chicks are just little names like Amy McNugget, Joseph McNugget, there's like a ton of them. The McNugget family. I'm like, that's a little morbid, isn't it?
That's your daughter. Yep.
That's my daughter.
Tracks.
Yeah,
it tracks.
Don't fall. Apple don't fall far from the tree.
Oh my God.
All right.
So Michael, you have a
shot.
You have a wonderful image of Petey here. I really enjoy this. I think it's super cool. We have a little bit of grain, which I don't have a problem with. I think the grain is fine. I know that sometimes we want to over soften that kind of stuff. Composition is good. I love all of that. The thing that I'm struggling with is that it looks like we have some banding happening, lower right, lower left, and a little bit above the bird's head. So I don't know if it's just been over processed or if it's been hyper compressed or something is happening in the background. I don't know. Can you see that, Frederick?
Yeah, um, I do see that, and I'm curious as well, like what's going on back there. Yeah, this banding around the edges, like right there, around these little
Yeah.
highlights it's showing up. Yeah, yeah, that's either. I feel like this may have been a much larger image, and this is a crop of it. Therefore, we don't have a whole lot of resolution smoothing out those lines there, or like you said, there's some sort of processing that brought those out. But yeah, is there a fix for that? Like, if this shot was like, okay, this is the only shot of this animal in the world, and I gotta make it be all it can be. What would you do to get rid of those? Select the subject and add a little blur to the background, or like how would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, if you had to work with the existing image that had that issue, I would say yes, you would blur the background, and that would get rid of those lines that define the ridges of the banding. Chances are this was probably in post processing, it was probably over compressed, or the
Mm-hmm.
tonal values in those areas were pushed too far, right? So if this was a 16-bit TIFF, you're almost not going to get banding. But if it's a highly compressed JPEG, which is
Mm-hmm.
8-bit, you have less tonal range and color range, you'll get banding. So that's probably what it is.
Yeah. Well, let us know, Michael. I'm curious. It's a great shot. I love it. And the catch lights in the eyes on this shot, I think, make it. It's a subtle thing. It's just like a few pixels, but without those, it'd be a
Right.
different shot. With those in there, the bird appears alive and ready to take off on its next adventure.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Let's see. And last but not least, yes, it's Phil Lewenthal. He calls this one simply vacuum.
I love that.
All right. What
I
do you
love
think?
that.
Yep.
What a great shot, and what a deviation, Phil, from your normal sea palms with the occasional bird and a rock. I love all of this, even with or without the black hole. Like even if you were to crop that off, I feel like it's a little too tight in that lower right hand corner, and I wish it had a little bit more space around it. But compositionally, I think it's wonderful, and I think it's easy for us to know what it is, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's easy
Mm-hmm.
for us to know this is water. I mean, there's enough detail in there, so the exposure was just perfect. So I think it's great. I'm trying to look around, maybe little highlights in the top along that top edge, right corner area. But other than that, fascinating, great image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I'm looking at it. I'm getting lost in that black hole down there at the bottom right. I know that's obviously
Yep.
intentional, but maybe that's compositionally it's balancing the image because we have that the weight of that all those dark pixels in the lower right corner, dangerously close to the edge of the frame, which makes it even
Yeah,
more kind of perilous, and then all the action in the top. So it's telling a story. It's almost like it's telling a story that I don't know. It could be any story, right? Because it's abstract. So I could make up my own story for this, or Phil could tell us a story for this. And I don't know. I don't know. I got to think about that. I'm not sure how I feel about that abyss in the bottom there. Without it, I don't like it as much, right? So I don't
right.
know.
Well,
I don't
I
know.
I think it's a clever element in the image, right? Because normally,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Phil does this to us, and so we have a lot to talk about. Like normally, like an image critique for like an image competition, you would be like, "Oh, it's distracting. It's tight to the corner. It draws my attention away." But as a creative element that you want to do that, what a perfect way to do that, right? I want you to be
Mm-hmm.
distracted by this. I want it to draw you to this corner and hold you there. And with a title like Vacuum or Abyss or something like that, it's very appropriate, right? It feels proper.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, the title would sell it. Phil's in the chat and he says, maybe a little yin yang in there. Yep, for sure. It is a little yin yangy, Phil. I like it. I like it. Very, very nice. All right. And Jim says there's another image in here that I'm missing. Image or images.
Is there? I thought I just did
So
a. Oh wait, there
screen
is,
loading.
and of course it's Jim's image. Jim is so good. Jim
That's
is always
me.
like the sniper. He comes in
Yes.
53 minutes, you know, a few
Yeah,
minutes into
yeah.
the show.
It's all good. It's all good. He calls this one Windy using Lens Baby Composer Pro. Interesting. All right. Look at that. See, that's fun. That's what Lens Baby's all about right there. That's what Lens Baby. And the yeah, that's cool. I'm curious what you're gonna say about this, Troy. I'm not gonna lead the
Uh,
witness at all.
um, you know, I, I, I love the subject matter. I don't love the Lens Baby look, and I'll be fair though. I've never liked the Lens Baby look. I've never been a fan of that. I think that it feels unnaturally distorted. So, but that's just me. So that maybe that's not a fair critique. Um, if we're gonna leave some of that distortion, I would crop some of it out. I just feel there's too many pixels dedicated to the distortion. I love the
Mm.
subject matter, the sand, the grass, the blue sky, that cloud in the top left hand corner. I wish it was more obvious. Um, Curious to hear what you say. I mean, everything else is great except for that blurry stuff.
Yeah, yeah, which is the limit.
I know.
I come at it a different direction. I think it's more of a subjective thing when you look at tools like Lens Baby, where they're affecting the light before it gets recorded on the sensor or on the disc or the drive or whatever. They're manipulating light, and when they do that and cause these kinds of sometimes fantastical but sometimes unpredictable results, it can be fantastic. And the unpredictability of that is the fun in using the device, right? And using a Lens Baby, because it's almost like shooting with an old Holga or something, right? Is you're not sure where the light leaks are or what you're going to get, and that's part of the adventure with
Right.
Lens Baby. It's not, but then on the other side of the hat, from a professional standpoint, unless this is part of your look, it's a risk if you are shooting something that's mission critical that you can't get back to unless this is your, like, this is my signature look and I know how it goes and everything. Baking the pixels like this with the look might be counterintuitive to you when you get back in the studio. You're like, oh, her face is blurred. Oh, and we're not going back. This is an award-winning image, but her face is blurred. I didn't see it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's both, right? You can take Lens Baby lenses out, have fun with them, and do all kinds of cool stuff. Even do pro work with it under the understanding that a lot of what you shoot is not necessarily going to be 100% repeatable, which is part of what being a pro like you are, Troy, right? People hire you because they know they've seen your book and you can repeat those results on their wedding. So, okay, hire this guy,
Right.
right? So,
And to be
but
fair,
Tim,
that's
you would shoot
that
with a Lens Baby though. I don't think you would shoot with it as your primary. But if you're like, okay, we got extra 10 minutes, bride and groom, and I got Lens Baby, let's go out and have some fun in the gazebo or something, right? I don't know. What do you think? No,
definitely, I
you're
definitely
saying
would
no.
not do that. Well,
That's
it,
because you're closed-minded, Troy. That's what.
no, no. I think that you hit on it because that's why I said like I personally don't prefer it, and I think that the reason is because I always want to have as much data as possible, and I'm always so afraid of having an image that I can't do anything with, and having first half of my career was all film, and having to choose film types and having to decide whether you use a sunset filter or you use a soft tar. Remember, we shot Hasselblad, we'd use soft tar filters,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you're committed to that, right? Like you're committed to that. So now the idea of putting a Lens Baby on and being committed, that just does not, my brain doesn't do that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
However, you're right. It's a good exercise to practice and make sure that you can get what you can get. And so, it's like this image, and I love the fact, Jim, that this has caused conversation, right? Like this is great. Um, I would just say that make sure that whatever the effect is, that it adds to your image. So in this case, I think it adds, but I think there's too many pixels dedicated to the blur, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
crop it in a little bit more, use that effect, which is great, but maybe not as heavy or maybe not as much of the total frame.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and
I agree with
you,
that.
I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. Especially from the standpoint of if you're charged $1 for each pixel, right? Are you are you going to use those pixels?
yeah.
What are you going to use those pixels for? I think the effect, Jim, that you're going for with the Lens Baby here can be communicated with less, like Troy said, with less left and right. Like if this was square, we still have that nice, gentle sort of hint of the blur happening around the edges, but not so much obscured as it is now. And what does Jim say in the chat? Jim, I'm gonna put your comment on the screen here. So Jim says, let me make this more readable. Let's put you in the sky. There you go.
Oh, Jim gets highlighted at the top of the frame.
Oh wait, he went away. Wait, there we go. Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. He spent a month doing one shot a day with this lens, and just for the fun of it, and probably got 5 or so shots. Okay. Yeah. See, that's the hit rate with a lens that's doing something is going to be, especially. And imagine Troy shooting Lens Baby on film. That's even more challenging, right? That,
Yeah.
because no chirping, no nothing. It's more, which is a nice, interesting adventure. If somebody gave you a particular Lens Baby, your camera, dropped you in the middle of Paris for, from 6 a.m.
I would be up for the
p.m.
challenge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That'd be fun, right? That'd be a
I
cool
would.
little exercise in
I
restraint.
would. Yeah.
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 Very
As
cool.
as bougie as I can be with my Z9, like I would love this challenge. And I think that there's a wonderful lesson to be learned here too, right? Like if you're a new photographer and you're just kind of learning and you're trying to figure out styles and you're trying to, you get overwhelmed with gear and apertures and which lens and stuff, getting back to this idea that you get one lens with one effect, one style. That's it. It makes you think. And I do like that. I do appreciate that. So
All right.
maybe I'll have to change my opinion a little bit. I don't know. I don't have a Lens Baby, so
I'm going to invite Craig Strong on the show, who is the founder of Lens Baby, and have him discuss and take you to task on your poo-pooing of the Lens Baby. So,
yeah. Well, yes. I need a Lens Baby to play with for a month before. I'm trying to be fair that I'm open-minded to change, but right now
you made your comments before having tried the Lens Baby for a month. So
but I qualified them. Saying for me, and I know. Trust me, I know. Sure. I know what flavor I am. I know what's happening.
Yeah, see,
I've done this a while.
Folks, do you see how afraid he got when I said I was going to bring Craig on? Truly worried.
No. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, we got to bring one.
I
haven't had Craig on in a while. We got to catch up with him anyway and see what they've been working on over there. All right. Any final shots? Any final thoughts on this final shot?
No. I think we've said all of it.
Yes. All right. So it's time to pick a favorite. Who's your favorite child out of all these? I'm gonna bring mine up. I already know mine. I already know it. I think I knew it. Oh yeah, I already know it. I have it on screen.
I'm gonna
now.
go.
Let's see if you pick.
I'm gonna go with Paulo. I'm gonna go with Paulo's
I
image.
love that one too.
You picked Michael's, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I picked this one.
Oh.
I mean, come on. Yeah, look at this. Look at it. Come on. I might have to override you on this one.
And look, again, like I've said before, like to be fair, like every one of us as artists and creatives, we have a bias. Like whatever we do the most, we have a bias. And I just think that for me, Paolo's image, a portrait that is so hard to do, and it's so close to what I do. So of course I love that one. So I can't argue with Eric's image either.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice image. It's nice, but they're all nice. I mean, of course, it's hard to pick. And you know, again, as we say a lot on these streams or in these critiques, we're just two guys with opinions, right? Just like we're two data points out of billions. So, granted, you know, my opinion is much more valid than Troy's, but still, you know. No,
I don't.
It's always the reverse. That's reverseism. Okay, cool. So let's leave it right there. And trying to keep it together with Troy Miller. What's our topic for our next critique? Which is going to be, while you think about it, we're in March now. That's going to be March 18th. March 18th will be this critique. What do you think? So we know what? Walk a mile north and take a picture. I know.
How about we do this? How about we title it Close to Home and make it something that's just within a mile of your home, right? Something like that. So it narrows it down, something like that, you know, something close to home. So I don't want to set a distance because maybe that's not fair.
Yeah, because you say 1 mile north and someone has a lake a mile north of them. That's that could be a lawsuit.
No, but I think the challenge is to go someplace that is less than ideal, that's close to your space. And this kind of came up because Frederick and I were talking about you know, how target rich it is to like maybe live in Colorado versus where him and I live. You know, we live in the middle of a city around farmland, and it may not be as ideal, but that's the challenge, right? The creative challenge is like get a good dirt clod photo or a tumbleweed or barbed wire or, you know, in and out drive through, like something challenging.
Yeah. There's a lot. Yeah. I think what we should do as far as parameters for this one, Troy, we'll title it Close to Home, but instead of saying within a mile, because they could just stay home, right? Because that's within a mile.
Right.
Let's say at least a mile. How about that? At least a mile in any direction from your house. So at least 1 mile. But, you know, Peter's going to say, you know, someone like Peter will say, well, yeah, here's a shot of me in Kathmandu. That's more than a mile away from my house. So let's say at least a mile, no more than 2. How about that? Within 1 to 2 miles from your house. Yeah.
I know where Peter lives. He doesn't have to go far to get some nice stuff. So,
I know. That guy can
and
roll
Phil,
out of bed and just
Phil just walks down to the
picture.
beach.
Yes. I know. Phil's like, oh, hold my beer. Oh my God. Yeah, Phil, we may have to exclude you from this critique because your close to home is superior to the rest of our close to homes. So, it is not fair. All right, cool. All right, let's leave it right there. We are at the top of the hour, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us for this photo critique, which was open general. The next one is close to home. Take a photo
Close to home
between 1 and 2 miles away from your house. Let's see what we can do. See what they come out with. Jim Peters says In-N-Out may be in range. Yes. Photojournalism at In-N-Out. Do it. Do a photo story of you ordering your number 1 with no cheese and a chocolate shake, and then, you know, as they hand or take your money. That's shot 2. Shot 3 is you grabbing the food, and then shot 4 is the empty little container as you have.
So do that today when you go get lunch, because that's where you're going. You know that.
I solely feel like I have to go now. Sorry. Yeah. All right, cool, everybody. We'll leave that right there. Thank you for joining us. TWiP members, we will see you on Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific for our weekly member mixer. We'll see all of you again for the next critique, which is going to be on the 18th, 2 weeks from now. Troy Miller, have a great rest of your week. Finish that floor. And stop trying to convert people to buy those Vision Pros. You are not an evangelist. Stop doing it.
No. You're so bad. You're just... Oh, yeah, fair. You wait till you get yours.
I know. I'm already ready for it. Look behind me here. Look. That's my VR graveyard back there. There's a Quest
Oh,
3 and the Quest 2 right there, which I still use, by the way. I still use both of those. So, and I will continue
yep.
to use them if I get a Vision Pro, because it's just like having a PlayStation and an Xbox. It's just different content. So, see, look at this.
I'm just
look at
saying.
this guy.
I'm just
Look at
saying.
this guy.
I'm happy. I'm happy with
yeah.
him. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I just watched Dune 1 in 3D in the goggles in the VR.
how was it?
What do
You
we
said
call them?
that
We can't
last
call them
night?
goggles.
I was gonna try a headset. I was gonna try it with the Quest 3 yesterday after you said that, so that when I try it,
Oh
with
yeah, try it.
with the new one, yeah, because they do the same thing. I mean, much lower resolution, obviously, but similar concept. So,
Yeah, do it.
Cool. All right, let's leave it right there. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Yep,
Remember
thanks,
to
Frederick.
like, before we end the stream, like the video. And if you're not a member, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the TWiP YouTube channel. And if you're not subscribed to our podcast, thisweekinphoto.com, subscribe to the podcast. Easy on the right side. Yeah, got to keep the fire going for the algorithm. All right, we'll leave it right there. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.